Let's move on to 24 hours in the old Pueblo. This is applicable for people doing any sort of marathon style, like a 24-hour race. We're going to be sharing what we're planning to do. We'll see how that changes once we get there. We'll record a podcast after we've ridden the course, and we'll see if we're going to change anything there, once we actually have ridden the course.
We're doing a podcast there?
Oh, heck yeah, we are. Okay. Yeah. And then thereafter, we will not record a podcast right after. You don't want to hear us right after a 24-hour race. We would be terrible.
I kind of do.
Yeah. Well, you'll get to see it.
Okay,
You'll be a part of it. But then we'll record one thereafter. But anyway, so this is our plan. And what do they say about, best laid plans, right? But we'll see how it goes. So first of all, the roster is myself, Pete, Nate, and Brandon.
People don't know this. We kicked Chad off the team.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, Chad volunteered to lead the team.
Chad skied himself into.
Yeah, my fitness is just garbage. This is like we talked about last week. This has been the longest layoff I've experienced in 20 years. So I would do nothing but a disservice to the team. I promise.
And we want to go fast.
If we were just going for fun, I would just go. But you guys are going to be.
You're going to be there.
Yeah. Oh yes.
There's people who do this race who party, and there's people who race hard. And we're going to race hard.
Chad's going to fall into the other group.
And Brandon,
do my best.
If you didn't listen, he's the road racer with like the 5.2 watts per kilo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
fast.
It's a big swing in fitness. Sorry, Chad.
It's like probably twice as fast as I am.
Yeah.
Literally.
He can fit on Chad's bike. He's not a mountain biker. And I guess an apprehension of Brandon's is any sort of like technical riding stuff that he may come across.
But he raced cyclocross. He was plenty.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this course also this course, and I was talking to Todd Sadow, the founder of Epic Rides, about this because he listened to the previous time we mentioned this on the podcast, and he was like, I got to correct you on something. He's like, the course is not technical until you add speed. And then he said, once you add speed, then things get really tough. And the reason is cactus, because there's cactus lining
so much
everywhere.
cactus.
So it's pretty dangerous.
It's going to be a good story.
Yeah. Nate, I definitely bet that Nate will get a bit of cactus and something by the end of the race.
Over under on that.
Yeah, we've got to play some sort of bets. But so that's the thing and then not only add speed, but then add fatigue, add lower visibility because of night, add everything else that comes into it. It's easy to get sloppy and get offline. In this case, you get offline, you get a cactus in you that is extremely painful.
There's also no straight lines in this race.
Yeah, it's just kind of
at the beginning, there's a lot of straight.
There's a fire road that's straight, but then anytime there's single track, it's never straight.
It's never straight.
It's just kind of, flowing and turning around. So for folks that don't know, like Nate said, that's kind of a party too, but you go to a spot that's actually private land, and then it's converted into a race place for the weekend, and then after that it's not. So you have to camp there. And you stay there. And in this case, you can either camp or you get an RV. And we got a big RV. Something to know, if you're doing this race and you get a big RV, the length of your RV is tied into the amount of cans you have to donate. Yeah, so it's discouraged to take a huge RV because, number one, they're limited on space. But then also they like the vibe of, they don't want everybody just closed up in an RV. So, but...
Not us, though.
We're bringing an RV. It's even called the Thor Hurricane. It's quite the name. But so we're doing that, and we have to bring a bunch of canned goods for that. But so we've got good lodging because we're trying to optimize recovery. We don't want to just be sleeping on the ground or in a tent.
We're bringing a Swanee.
We are bringing a Swanee.
Yeah, that's not me.
I can't wait for Chad to rub my legs.
So our admin, Tori, she's coming. She's going to handle the duties of making sure food's there or making sure just things are kind of organized and that because our heads are going to be going crazy. Yeah.
She always cheers us on before we do our workout.
It's true.
Like, go, Brian. Go, Brian.
It's true. Let's go through equipment really quick, what we're going to use.
No, we got to talk about Chad's role.
Oh, yeah, Chad. Oh, yeah. The beer genie.
New assignment.
Yeah.
So Chad was like, I don't know if I should go or not. And we're like, no, Chad, you need to go. You can be the beer genie. So Chad bought you have a Yeti backpack cooler, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what's the beer sponsor?
Four Peaks.
Four Peaks beer. So Chad's going to be walking around with ice cold beer on his backpack.
So if you need some beer,
just ask the beer genie and he'll pull one out and give it to you.
Make your wishes come true.
That's it.
Pretty much it.
If
the gist of it. Yep.
If he hasn't made all his own wishes come true.
To bring the party.
Yep. So
and to get drunk.
Equipment side of things, all of us are going to be on full suspension bikes. I know somebody's out there yelling like, it's not technical, you should be on a hardtail, but there's a whole lot of debate on that all the time. And these days, full suspension bikes are getting so darn efficient that you don't lose any energy through pedaling, or I should say you probably lose less energy through pedaling or less momentum than you gain through the fact that you have a compliant bike.
Not to mention that as you fatigue over the course of 24 hours of riding your bike, that bike's going to get increasingly uncomfortable if it's a hardtail.
Yes, exactly. So full suspension, short travel bikes for us. You're on one with 130 in the front?
120, 110, 120.
110, 120. You're
So
on the
not
tall boy.
quite. Yeah, I'm on a tall boy. It's not quite an XC bike.
It is. Yeah,
But
it's
it's-
very close.
You
it's
gonna
very
lock it
close.
out pretty hard?
I don't know.
With that one, you don't really need
It
to.
pedals pretty well.
Yeah, it does.
I figure I ride Ash Canyon and Carson all the time, which is probably similar riding style,
really similar.
and I never lock it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
so-
wouldn't lock it out. Yeah. Tire choice. What are you running, Nate?
I can't decide. I think I'm going to go with faster. So right now I have the knobby Nick up front, and in the back the Rocket Ron. But
Which
I
is
believe,
pretty grippy setup.
yep. So I believe I'm going to switch to if I can get the tires, a Racing Ray in front, and the new Racing Ralph 2 in the rear,
Cool.
which is a little faster setup. But I think that equals Cactus a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I'll probably be fine. So producer Ian, please, I'll get those tires and please change them.
So I asked Keegan Swenson what he would recommend on this one in terms of Maxxis tires. I usually just run Maxxis tires.
me
It keeps
too.
it simple. But he said that he would run Aspens for sure on this course rather than running the Recon Race. The Recon Race has a bit more of like a raised side, but the Aspen rolls faster than the Recon Race. And that's coming from Maxxis. They say it rolls faster.
Cool.
So I'm going to be running Aspens on mine.
Hey, sounds good to me too.
Nice. And then Aspens are already on Chad's bike, which is what Brandon will be riding. And then I'm going to be running pretty low pressure, though. I'm going to be running somewhere around like 20 and a half, maybe even 19 and a half, somewhere around there to 20 in the front, and then just 1 PSI higher in the rear. Just because I want that to be smooth and I want as much contact patch on the ground because I don't want to have a little thing where, oops, I slipped a little bit and then I hit a cactus. So lights. So we are using Light and Motion lights. We'll end up putting a link to the lights that we're using into the forum. You can go to forum.trainerroad.com and look for this. But we're using one on our head. It's going to be 2,000 or 1,000 lumens, and then one on our bars. It's going to be 2,000 lumens. And they're both from Light and Motion. We'll get the exact names on there for you. You can check it out at forum.trainerroad.com. Nutrition is the other side of things, and having done a 24-hour race before, it's basically a nutrition race, like because it's not about like who's like gonna like throw out a crazy technical move or something like that. It's really just about making sure you're top.
And if you run the tank low early on, it comes back in spades.
I pretty much did a 24-hour race last weekend.
You kind of did.
Because I did those 4 races. They weren't an hour, but it was harder. Well, not harder, but you know what I mean? And so I tried to fuel in between that. And I think the important part is we're going to need to fuel on the bike as well as off. Because we have such little time between races to restore our glycogen storage. You don't want to do just water on the bike or just a little bit of sports drink. But we have to constantly be eating.
Yes.
And on the bike, it's probably going to be, because the laps are maybe a little over an hour.
Yep.
So sweet spot-ish, slow threshold.
That's what I'm thinking. It's not going to be, I mean, the first lap, I'm going to be doing the first lap. That'll be all out, right? Yeah. But then after that, my goal is just to keep it in sweet spot because that's really the only sustainable thing.
I think so.
High sweet spot, guys.
Here's the thing, though. It's super tempting because they're short laps. It's super because if you were to just go out for an hour ride, you probably wouldn't feel like you need to eat or drink a whole lot.
Well, you wouldn't. Not for a single hour ride.
Right? Yeah. But in this case, it is super important to make sure that you're taking in nutrition on the bike.
Because you guys are going to do about 6 laps each, which translates to over 6 hours of
if
riding
all goes
each.
well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a 6-hour
For
ride.
fast.
Yeah, if we're really fast.
A 6-hour ride at a high level of output, too. We're not talking to 6 hours of burning butter. You guys are going to be working.
6 hours of sweet spot?
That's very hard.
We look at this, and we think that Pete and I are probably going to do about, just on kilojoules, 1,000 calories per lap.
Yeah.
So 6,000 calories.
That's a lot.
And then we're going to be up most of the night.
Yeah. I'm planning on not sleeping, right? It's safer to not.
Right.
No, we talked about that. The assumption should be that you guys aren't going to sleep at all. And if you happen to get some sleep, that's just a bonus. A little icing on the cake.
If you count on it and then you don't get it,
That's
it
just
becomes
disappointing.
discouraging. And then that just like, it becomes, because then you start fighting for that sleep and it's pretty tough. No, you guys are going to be burning more calories than a smaller rider. And that's because you're larger people capable of more work, more muscle mass, that sort of stuff.
But we
still, like relatively speaking, we'll be burning a ton of calories each person.
Over that day, 10,000 calories for Pete and I is probably on par for what we'll do. Just because us big people, we're going to be moving a whole bunch the rest of the time. Yeah. And the amount of moving a mountain bike, which is not measured through kilojoules with your power meter.
Yeah.
Totally.
10,000 calories. So think about eating 10,000 calories. You can look at what Michael Phelps eats during a day.
It's so much food.
So much.
It's a lot. It's so hard to eat that much.
And I really want to improve recovery. I don't want this to like knock me out and then you guys be like, oh, you peaked in February and like have this be the thing that kills me. right?
We're all kind of
Yes.
counting on that. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. No, but it's just going to be so important
Yeah.
to eat food, eat a variety of food, and on the bike. So on the bike, I'm going to be doing probably the SIS Beta Fuel,
Yeah.
and I might even have one bottle of that, one bottle of Scratch, and like Edgel. So I'm going way over the 100 grams.
Yeah.
I know I've not
You
found
can-
the upper limit. For
Yeah,
me.
you can handle it, right?
I know.
Nate has no limits
I'm
when
going-
it comes to food.
So I'm gonna
He's put in the work.
And the reason why I'm doing the drink mix, and I probably will bring Martin too, which is like the same thing.
Yeah.
I'll bring a variety of stuff.
Yeah.
But because it's so much easier when you're mountain biking to be able to drink something than to get something out and like gel it and chew it.
Totally. I think the variety thing is super important.
Yeah.
Taste fatigue is real.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when it's what you're doing for 24 hours nonstop.
It's a real thing in like a 3-hour ride.
Yeah.
You know, think about it over 24 hours when you're
right.
in that state.
Yeah, so I'm bringing everything from I'm like you said I'm covering on I'll have Scratch stuff to eat. I'm going to have some different flavored Cliff Blocks. I'm going to have Marten. I'm going to have a whole bunch of things to pick from. So then when I go out, I can just feel like I can pick from whatever I want. For food off the bike, we have a whole mix of things, everything from, and we won't go through everything in detail quite yet. We'll do that on the podcast when we get to it, but we're not straying away from like real food, but we aren't also taking in like, I don't see any like tri-tip steaks that we're going to roast or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's
unrealistic.
easy to prepare, easy stuff to eat, but it's a big variety
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of like a varying flavor profile, which I feel like is important.
Let's talk about at the very beginning of the race, watching videos on here. So you start with, what's it called? What
A
kind
Le
of-
Mans start.
Yeah, I always thought it was called Le Monde, but it's not Le Monde.
No,
It's
It's
Le
the
Mans.
race.
Le Mans. Yeah,
Yeah, the race
the
car.
French
Race
race.
car, yeah.
So you run in your cycling shoes to your bike.
Yes.
And then-
Jonathan runs in his
Jonathan
cycling.
runs. Yeah. So Jonathan's actually a quick runner. The first 5K, 18 minutes or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy like that. Like, didn't even train. So I'm going to run 5K, 18 minutes. Super annoying. But on this one, you watch GoPro footage. Somebody who didn't run fast, man, they are for the entire first lap, weaving through, seems like 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Like, it is.
How many
Like,
people actually do the race?
A lot.
Okay.
I don't know.
How do they
but it's
position
a
your
lot.
bikes for this? Just throw
They're
them in a
laid
pile
down.
and-
They're laid down on the side, and I think it's laid down in a grid. I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah. It may be entirely sideways. That would
so
be the
you
most
know where your
fair.
bike is, though. They're not trying to.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
You don't have to like play the Benny Hill theme song.
yeah. So, anyways, what we need on that first lap is go fast. We need separation. So we need you to sprint off, which you're good at, and then at the very beginning, like get a big gap, right,
For us to
Try the
lose.
best.
or just for us to lose.
Try the most I can. Yeah.
We don't. What we don't want to have is. We just don't want to be sucked back, which I don't think we will.
You don't want to be caught into like a slower group.
Yeah, because we don't want as other people to make us go slower. Like passing people takes time.
Yeah, and with this course, you have fire road sections and you have single track sections. And even though passing does happen on the single track sections, it's usually because of a mistake or something like that. So it's really key to place your passing and place your efforts well. So it's
And
kinda
passing
tricky.
people on a fire road isn't easy.
It's not.
For everybody who's trying to ride sweet spot.
Yeah.
No, it'll be 4 abreast. Looking at the video,
Yeah.
and like there won't be any room to pass. You have to
Yeah.
ask, and it's-
Certainly easier than riding through cactus, but
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then, so that's the start, and then we have to talk about rider order. And before I joked like I'm not going to be the slowest because I thought Chow was going to be there, but now I might actually be the slowest.
I don't know. You've got
I am.
you're really fit right
But
now.
anyway, thank you, Jonathan. Second place should be Brandon, I think, because Brandon is
He's fast.
just the amount of power that he can
Yeah.
lay out. He's going to power away, and then it could be either one. I think we're going to be very similar in speed
I
because
think so, yeah.
I think my watt per kilo is a little higher than you, Pete, but your handling's better. So I bet you each lap we will finish very similar times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll adjust that order as necessary. Hopefully, it doesn't need any adjusting, and we
Yeah.
can just carry on. But
Make
you have
Brandon
to be
do an extra lap for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You have to be open to making those adjustments. That's a big thing with these 24-hour races because a lot will change from.
And we can't
start.
adjust on the fly. So we figure that Brandon should do all the laps.
Yeah.
We could stop and have him do all the
We'll
laps.
do one lap, then we'll sleep all night, then we'll wake up
Yeah.
and do another one.
8
Good luck,
hours.
Brandon.
And then what we might do too at night is we'll make the decision there, but we might go 2 and 2. So it could be Jonathan Brandon. That way Pete and I could sleep a little bit, and then it would be
Yeah.
Pete.
However that
yeah,
works, yeah.
exactly. However we want.
Yep. Yeah, we'll figure that out once we get there and kind of feel out the course and everything else.